Steve's always been cocky. Always.
What did you just say?
But now you're also seeing a
These forever been presumptuous waves. What did you simply say yet? Presently, you're additionally seeing one more side of him that he never needed to show me. I love that sort of the sensationalist newspapers. They love that sort of stuff. I read it. Themes like Steve Harvey has turned into a ruler of the shameful titles, and notwithstanding the individual informing conjugal issues that caused the web to detonate a couple of days prior, its associate Terri Vaughn is presently recommending that this man is loaded with advanced notice qualities and has fundamentally been one major warning starting from the beginning of his vocation, Steve, from some time ago. And presently he's getting achievement and he's not switching off who he is on the right track. Hopefully you're ready to observe the side of Steve you haven't seen before. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Celeb Live channel. So Steve Harvey is broadly examined once more, and this time it's one of his old individual celebs who is spilling everyone of the succulent insights regarding Steve's frightful side, and he transformed his Steve Harvey show into a position of dread and dread. Now Terri has been working with Steve for a considerable length of time, and she unquestionably understands this individual better than any other person and folks. Obviously, she isn't in stunningness of his conduct, unadulterated selfishness, and pomposity. He won't be tranquil and kneel and be grateful to you all like you made him, as per Terri, starting from the beginning of his vocation. Steve was of an extremely high assessment of himself, and at a similar he dealt with most of individuals like soil. Here's only one ongoing model that can completely exhibit you all what a man is truly taking such a great deal. Our daytime, all of you recall silly pantomime of Steve Harvey, made by skilled humorist and the star of satire series Saturday Night Live, Kenan Thompson. Victor invested a ton of energy broiling his kindred entertainer in his meetings and clarifying for us everybody why this was an extremely impractical notion. Sooner or later, Steve even notices that Thompson is as yet having his profession because of Steve, as though these depictions were the main way that kept Saturday Night Live above water. Kenan's vocation is fit as a fiddle as a result of me. Impression of me anyway. Steve's self-importance didn't stop here, and he got embarrassing his associates straightforwardly far from the public information, as Kenan later admitted. Steve was so maddened with his depiction that he started sending admonitions to the jokester Steve Harvey. Didn't cherish it in the first place. I know him. So he would send messages through shared companions or directly through the press, like advise the little fat kid to knock it off. That is sound past upsetting yet. As Terri continues to say, she never expected one more sort of conduct from Steve, as she had realized all his obscure sides while working with him on Steve Harvey's show, and keeping in mind that you might believe it's a significant privilege and joy to be encircled by the superstar that had arrived at such levels in his profession. Terri is of something else entirely. There's a feeling of lowliness that individuals need to see, yet you only he loathes that world word, humble. Wow, he despises it. And on the off chance that you're mature enough to recollect it, you presumably realize that Kenan Thompson has likewise begun his direction on television in Steve Harvey's show. He played a person named Junior from 1996 to 1998, preceding Thompson. 1998 preceding Thompson left to fabricate his own profession, which now Steve considers his own legitimacy. As Harvey referenced in one meeting, I call Kenan constantly and say, hello man, send me a portion of your check since I'm a portion of the explanation you're here. Evidently Terri had enough of Steve's haughtiness, and she predicts a fast destruction of Harvey's television profession, assuming that he keeps acting like a diva and stroll over individual. He's functioning with it. Appears as though he's so loaded with himself that considers his own representatives irritating workers who are available on the set to only serve the ruler of parody and relationship master. Another person resembles Cheddar. What's going on with Steve? Definitely it. Resembled like I was this horrendous individual. I'm actually a decent person yet. I'm a particularly pleasant person. Individuals make the most of it while impacting his kindred vips on and off camera is a so now sort of upsetting. You don't envision folks what other not-so-celebrities need to encounter with regards to working for Steve Harvey. All of you recall that reminder that had been released on the web and made a ton of debate via virtual entertainment. It was that awful second when Steve requested the staff not to move toward him in his changing area and essentially let him be the piece of the spilled email. Read my security group will prevent everybody from remaining at my entryway who have The purpose to see or address me? I maintain that all the ambushing should stop now that incorporates television staff. You should plan an arrangement and keeping in mind that the entire Broadway was stunned by Steve's self-importance and unforgiving requests, particularly put in such a manner that television have plainly expressed that he wouldn't apologize for composing that update on the grounds that as he would like to think it's what his staff merit. Okay, apologize about the letter yet sort of in on what individuals who took this thing and ran well. It seems as though Terry is glad to have never seen these days on the grounds that evidently Steve's self-image was developing along his financial balance, and the more extravagant he turned into the more bile was overflowing out from him. Many fans are currently stunned to find that Steve's television picture is so distant from his genuine character, as one individual remarked, well, assuming this is the sort of character he has, he best lock in the grounds that our eminent dad is going to humble him in a powerful manner. Pride cometh before the fall. I supplicate the ruler shows kindness toward him. And another client added, is this the start of the end for Steve? Wow, he has a ton continuing. Great. Steve has previously demonstrated himself as an individual nobody needs to be companions or partners with, and it seems like the heap of questionable minutes will be just filling in store for reasons unknown the shameful titles about one more ID circumstance connected with Steve spring up habitually. And as Terri Vaughn accepts, it's all a result of Steve's awful person and despicable nature. The meaning of humble, it means to view yourself as lower, modest, assuming that you read the meaning of humble he detests. However, you don't have to request that others figure out that Steve Harvey is a genuinely horrendous individual. Theirs has been numerous disputable minutes all through his profession that main featured all that Terry is telling now. Clearly, Steve Harvey is brimming with disdain to this world, and these dreadful sentiments towards others are preparing inside him, and some of the time they surface like recall when he was unable to prevent himself from a few harsh comments about that local area. It appears as though Steve is so anxious to show his masculinity that he doesn't consider that individuals can have other private inclinations, as he is sure that each of the a man should be genuine is a lady in a way that would sound natural to him. There is definitely not a genuine man residing who can reside without one of you. He doesn't exist. We must have you. That is an extraordinary piece of information to have. And here's his striking response to two ladies declaring they are getting hitched on Steve's show, and it plainly shows that the television have doesn't share their joy. No. Is that what in the what second yet? As per Terry, it's smarter to avoid Steve, regardless, assuming you are a man or a lady, wedded or single. He will constantly figure out how to embarrass anybody since it's in his temperament. He has once expressed that people can't be companions, and he personally never had any female companions due to his own failure to conceal the private longings he was holding on to towards them when a meeting cast questioned on Steve's proclamation saying she has been companions with numerous men. Steve ringed in with his insight saying he's your companion simply because you have made plainly nothing is occurring aside from this kinship we have. We remain your companions with the expectation that one day there will be a break in the entryway and in the reinforcement and trust. Obviously, Steve's obsolete thoughts are somewhat not acknowledged in the cutting-edge world, yet he continues teaching his reality, assembling increasingly more reaction from the crowd and individual famous people, and Terry is one of the people who stays vocal about Steve's insane thoughts. Yet I feel like no one ought to put the tension off anyone to be on any sort of level yet. As Terry is saying, Steve accepts he's soaring. And folks, I mean it in a real sense. In 2015, Harvey again stood out as truly newsworthy with one more discussion when he was sued by One World Flight over a rented personal luxury plane. The airplane organization requested the television host to pay them $200,000 for making minor alterations in the personal luxury plane seating, saying that Harvey needed to set aside more room for himself by eliminating additional seats, that he removed 2 seats from the plane to make it greater, well, less individuals, yet more region in his confidential seat. Well, it appears as though he accepts that others are way over his head, and he keeps stunning everybody with his absolute egotism and pride. Terry feels so glad to have not any more expert experiences with this man, and she wants to work with him. Was the most exceedingly terrible period in her profession. Well, fans really has a ton to add, as one individual remarked, no one a glance at his show for him. At any rate, he wasn't yet is actually a major buzzkill. Interesting. And one more client added Harvey ought to be simmered consistently. He's not barbershop talk, except if we are snickering at him in light of his nursery to wipe. Obviously, Steve is confronting Syria. Vocation emergency after all that has been expressed about him. And what is your take on this, folks? Is this the finish of Steve Harvey's experience on television or this negligible discussion about desire? Individuals, drop your considerations in the remarks underneath and remember to check my different recordings well. That is all there is to it for the time being. Gratitude for observing.